as it is. Sincere words can and do inspire a change of reality and circumstances. Your word, your promises to those who put you in a position of trust is a sacred social contract that should never be taken for granted. Sadly, that word, that sacred bond and pledge, has been so abused that it no longer inspires trust, but rather rings hollow in the ears of the listener because of current happenings today. In 1992, we sparked hope in the hearts of Ghanaians with the promulgation of a new constitution unto ourselves. Faith in our new democracy was high, and Ghana became the toast of the Committee of Nations and was hailed as the model of democracy. Ghana was held as a champion in decentralization and economic. Alas, the same cannot be said today. Our people are deeply demoralized and are increasingly losing faith in our democratic movement. As a consequence, I have heard repeatedly people throwing their hands up in the air with despair and declaring, "It is no use voting. Politicians are all the same." In all humility, I disagree. Notwithstanding the unmatched legacy of visible, impactful development acknowledged and celebrated the world over, we in the NDC are humble enough to admit our shortcomings, and we refuse to cover them up. It is this admission that has led to sober reflections and corrective measures to give Ghanaians even better leadership when the NDC and I are elected by the good people of Ghana in December 2020. This is what stands us out as the best to give Ghana honest and efficient leadership that truly encourages both supportive and dissenting views and contributions from our citizens. The party that I lead and experience with a singular focus of producing results for Ghanaians, not excuses or the blame game. Honor is an invaluable currency I do not take for granted. I stand by my words that notwithstanding the misinformation and propaganda of our opponents and their insincere promises, we in the NDC will not lie to Ghanaians. We shall continue to be sincere and engage in the politics of honesty, not the politics of convenience. Today, 3 years into this administration, promises have turned out to be a grand deception. The much vaunted economic redemption has turned out to be an economic disaster in the lives of Ghanaians, as they see hardship and prices of fuel and utilities skyrocketing, the difficulty of living from day to day. The promised prosperity has been replaced with hardship and suffering, direct consequence of either ill-conceived policies or poorly implemented programs. Soon I'll be sharing my position on the state of our struggling nation with the good people of Ghana at a date to be announced. But allow me to say that as someone who took over from Professor J.E.A. Mills of blessed memory and supervised the Ghana Compact II negotiations with the Millennium Challenge Corporation and the U.S. government, the Ghana Compact administration for his handling fellow Ghanaians, we are all deeply disappointed because of the self-serving decisions that we're taking. The deliberate acts perpetuated with the of the Flagstaff House in the ECG concessionaire agreement that has led us to where we are today. This was absolutely needless and could have been avoided. Report of the Flagstaff House in the ECG concessionaire agreement that has led us to where we are today. This was absolutely needless and could have been avoided.
Don't listen.
I have just noted a decision by the NCC to withdraw $190 million of the funding amount. It's a sad day for us. This money was meant to improve the efficiency of our electricity utility corporation. Let me emphasize that these shady happenings were absolutely avoidable if the right decisions were taken with the future development of Ghana in mind, and not parochial decisions that reflect the sad and worsening situation of state capture that we're increasingly experiencing under the Akufo-Addo administration. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, let me congratulate the members of the NDC Manifesto Committee and remind you, together with the working groups, that Ghanaians are looking up to the NDC to reignite the hope that was kindled in our hearts in 1992 with the return to constitutional democracy. This must be a manifesto that ignites hope in Ghanaians. It must be a manifesto that incorporates the concerns of Ghanaians, and it must be a manifesto that restores the confidence of our people in the leadership. Together, we win 2020. I thank you very much. May God bless Ghana. May God bless the NDC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's just ended speech by former President John Mahama, who is also flag bearer for the NDC. So in summation, all that he says is that he's inaugurating his manifesto committee, and that's the members of the committee are solely based in Accra, but they have gone around the country in a consultative process, which he describes as long and detailed. He says it's made up of people, you know, from academia, from the private sector, people who have engaged with people extensively and so understand the problems of Ghanaians. He mentions UTAG, the GMA, that's the Ghana Medical Association. He mentions traditional leaders, Pentecostal leaders, that's the religious leaders as well. And then he talks about plans to meet more, including the TUC, the ICU, the mine workers. He goes on and on with that. He calls this manifesto they're going to put together an organic one that an average Ghanaian voter can at a glance understand the social contract that the NDC wants to have with the people of Ghana. He says that it is a manifesto that will restore confidence in the people, not just in Ghana, the Ghanaian people, but also in Ghana's democracy, one that Ghanaians can hold NDC accountable to, and he calls it a bottom